Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is fantastic. There, I said it, review over, go to the cinema, get your tickets, and enjoy, because this movie really is great. I was going to beat around the bush, go for the big build-up, wax lyrical about the state of Hollywood and its unvarnished virtue signalling. I mean, they even tried to glorify a slave trading nation because they had a woman for a king, which incidentally is a queen for those whose garish hair colour is affecting their cognitive function. But I don't need to spend extra time thinking up little anecdotes and amusing metaphors because Guardians of the Galaxy is just a very good movie. The Guardians of the Galaxy have always been a bit mold-breaking in the MCU because they don't really fit in the way that Iron Man, Thor, Black Panther, the Hulk, Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and all those other characters do, because unlike them, the Guardians have always been based away from Earth in their own little separate universe that somehow has remained mostly immune to the woke mind virus that has destroyed the MCU and most related franchises. The characters aren't really even superheroes. They're a ragtag group of misfits who separate are badasses in their own right. One of them is called the Destroyer for God's sake. But they are each vulnerable and not powerful enough to deal with the sort of issues that the Hulk would just smash without a thought. But together, they become greater than their individual skill sets would permit. They become the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, that is a bit grandiose, but at the heart of it, the Guardians of the Galaxy is about family and friendship and the sort of bonds that last a lifetime. You don't choose your family, and not all family is blood related. Some family is found on the battlefield. Some family is found while hiking through the Himalayas. Others walk through the door attached to the arm of your sister and then just sort of never leave. And some, you may not even realize are family until they steal your heart. Life is crazy. It's filled with ups and downs, good and bad, and it is made bearable by those that surround you and care for you, and make every day just that little bit warmer, bring a smile to your lips and a song to your soul. That is what the Guardians of the Galaxy represents. And it is both uplifting and gratifying. It is an anti-venom to the poisonous, insipid nature of modernity and intersectional postmodernism. You probably didn't notice, but I really enjoyed this movie. Sequels are usually a game of diminishing returns, both in monetary returns and in quality of the work. Not one of the Iron Man movies improved on the original, or even gave it a run for its money. The Thor movies went downhill so fast that I can only imagine that Fat Thor had finally reached perfect sphericality. I think I might have made that word up. And those are ones within the MCU. Other franchises have fared even worse. But Guardians 3 breaks the mold by being arguably better than the first movie. A very unusual feat, and it does it in a way that endears it to your heart. This isn't just an action movie, it isn't even just a superhero movie. It is an origins movie, a tragedy, and a comedy in equal measures. But unlike Ant-Man 3, which was a barely comprehensible mess, with writing that would have looked better scrawled on a toilet stall door, this movie is a roller coaster of emotions and action, and it's almost VR-like in its ability to drag you into the story. I really felt for the characters, cared for how things would end up, and became anxious when things were looking bad. It is a strange sensation that I haven't had for a while, actually caring about what is happening on the screen, especially with a Marvel movie, or Marvel anything for that matter. If it wasn't for the fact that there are some pretty heartbreaking moments, I would be queuing up and heading back to the cinema to go see it again. Which is something that I haven't done since I went to see Tombstone, a movie in which a perfectly cast Kurt Russell gets outshone by an outstanding performance from Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. James Gunn really just knocked this one for 6. He managed to write and direct a pretty much perfect superhero origins movie, and for all the characters to do it with, it was Rocket Raccoon, a character that is much loved and really deserved to be the centre of attention. But everyone shines in this movie. It isn't just a vehicle for Chris Pratt, it is a perfectly balanced and thoughtfully written movie that even allows Cosmo the Space Dog a moment of glory. Speaking of the cast, they are all on top of their game. In a movie that doesn't rely solely on laughs and action, the cornerstone of the MCU, this movie has plenty of emotional depth that is seldom found in Hollywood these days. The Guardians are all present and correct. Drax is as amusingly dumb as ever. Mantis is still trying to keep him in check. Nebula is back looking very frumpy, dressed in what looks like an old sack, but otherwise is as brutally effective as usual. Groot actually has more to say than usual, though his role does feel a bit scaled back in this third movie. Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, starts out as a bit of a wreck after losing Gamora, but quickly regains his composure when the life of his best friend,
second best friend,
Rocket Raccoon, is put in jeopardy. And Gamora is back, albeit minus her original memories and personality, which is hard on Peter, but it kind of looks like this may work out for them again at some point, since there is just a hint of budding romance. And Rocket Raccoon, the character who this movie revolves around, and whose past is even more painful and heartbreaking than we can suspect, and which certainly would explain his gruff exterior. And now we come to the bad guy, the High Evolutionary, played with real passion by Chukwudi Iwuji. I didn't sneeze, that's his name. Apparently it's Nigerian, and he does a great job as this movie's antagonist. He plays a deranged High Evolutionary that thinks he's basically a replacement for God. I don't get to say this very often, but I can wholeheartedly recommend this movie. And if you haven't seen it yet and you can bring yourself to give Marvel some money, which I know is a push for many of us, I always berate myself for funding Hollywood to any degree, and Disney Marvel in particular, since they make me sick. But this time, they actually earned it, and I don't feel ripped off that I gave Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 a chance. I very much doubt that I'm going to enjoy any other movie half as much this year, so this really is one not to miss. This has been Movie Suck, just wishing that Hollywood could maintain standards like this, but knowing that this is a one-off, and that there is still plenty more eye torture yet to come from this year's crop of movies. Signing out, leave a like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.